What's going on, guys? It's Thursday, July 20th, and we're out here with the sheep tonight. Tonight we're going to take a little bit of a dive into the financials of raising sheep and really how the lambing process in raising sheep acts as somewhat of a multiplier as far as driving your overall cost down, spreading your costs down over time, and again, why I truly think it is the ultimate homestead animal. And almost every decision we make, a lot comes down to the price of things, what it costs, how much of your time, your energy, and your initial capital is going to go into anything. And the same is true for raising livestock. You get the question all the time, does this pay? Does it pay to raise your own food? Well, that's not exactly why we got into this, but there are definitely ways that you can make it profitable for yourself. So as the sheep walk away, we'll get up and we'll take a walk as we discuss a little more. So diving into kind of the financials a little bit, without going too in detail here, there's something that I think is very unique about the way sheep lamb. And what that is obviously the process of lambing, giving birth, typically in the spring or for us inexperienced shepherds over winter. But rather than having a cow where your calf is going to be kind of that 1-to-1 ratio each year, you have the potential to have one calf. Sheep oftentimes do twin. They will birth twins. In our case last year, we did have one single lamb, and then we also did have twins from Brownie over here. But unfortunately, one of the lambs didn't make it from her, just very weak from birth. We tried to bottle feed, we tried to keep her going, and it didn't work out for us. But in a lot of instances, sheep will produce twins, which creates what I call that multiplier effect, which is also ultimately going to spread your initial cost across multiple animals, and kind of gets you to that very low cost per head number there. So we'll talk about that a little bit, and I'll dive into it with you. We picked up 4 sheep last year in April of 2022. We had a ram and 3 ewes. So that was our starting point. And for 4 sheep, we paid $600, which is a pretty reasonable price. Bucky is our ram. He is a Katahdin and a Texas Dull. Texas Dull is a very large frame sheep. So he's a big animal. And then the rest were mainly Katahdin there. I do have some suspicion that there might be some others mixed in, but it is mainly Katahdin there. So like we said, it's $600 for 4 sheep, which is $150 a head there, which is a pretty good price in our initial investment. Come to spring of 2023, I should say winter of 2023, we did have 2 lambs. And then over winter, as I mentioned in earlier videos, we did feed over winter. We weren't ready, we weren't set up to have a 100% grass-fed operation over winter here. So we did feed. I figured that to be about $200. Feed cost was relatively low because there was still some browse throughout the pen there that they were initially placed in. So when you factor in feed costs and our initial cost to bring the animals onto the farm, you're talking $800 for 4 animals. So common math tells you that's $200 a head. Now this is where it gets fun, and this is kind of what I'm talking about. So we had 2 lambs last year. Obviously that brings our head count up to 6. So right there, we have no additional costs. These animals are now on pasture. They're going to be on pasture all year. It doesn't cost me a penny to let them graze this land. Over winter, I am planning on continuing to rotate them through here. We do have another pasture that we're working on now. So I'm anticipating getting through winter, again, with no cost, contrary to what our initial first winter was there, where we spent about $200 in feed. We also did cut some hay, where we physically go out and rake and store hay in one of the barns here. So again, I'm hoping to get through the winter cost-free. So now you're talking $800 over 6 sheep. Again, $133 a head. Now the exciting part. So coming into 2024, we're really planning again on letting them breed, letting Bucky breed the ewes here. So oftentimes lambs, again, with their twins, we're talking 4 lambs in addition to what we already have for next year. So let's be conservative and say we only have one lamb per ewe. So 1 lamb per ewe will put us up to 8 sheep in our flock here. 8 sheep across $800. You got it, $100 a head there. So the cost continues to drive down. Now, this is where the special thing comes in with sheep. They have lambs. Now you're multiplying. You have that multiplier effect. 4 lambs. Now you're up to, what is that, 10 sheep. 10 sheep across $800, $80 a head. And you can see year over year how this continues to play out. If you want to expedite the process even more and get more out of that multiplier effect, you bring in other genetics. You bring in another ram, and then you basically split the flocks with the offspring of this generation, bring in another ram. Now you're going to double, you're going to have a kind of that double multiplier there, where you're really going to expedite your growth of your flock and obviously drive your overall costs down. Now, granted, with anything, there's always variables that play into this stuff, so I don't want to make it sound like it's a foolproof way of raising animals or a way to get rich out here on the farm. It's nothing like that. But as far as raising on a smaller scale, raising your own animals, producing your own meat, it's really hard to beat it when you're getting your costs down like that. And again, this is why I think sheep are such a sustainable, kind of self-sufficient operation here. You really can just continue to grow your flock and your cost drives down. What other animal can you say that about? Our pigs, I'll tell you right now, our pig feed cost is substantially more already, and they're still relatively small animals. So sheep, again, they're going to be your answer as far as something that can just be set free, very low maintenance, and the cost just kind of continues to dwindle and dwindle. So as I mentioned, with 6 sheep, we're at $133 a head right now. Break that down to a retail cut. So for those of you that don't know, your average lamb will kind of finish out around 90 to 100 pounds. We'll just call it 100 pounds to make it simple here. So on a 100-pound lamb, you're going to yield about 35 pounds of meat. So you break that down, $133 divided into 35 pounds of meat. You're talking about a $3.80 per pound cut. Last I checked at some of the even cheaper grocery stores, they are actually selling lamb at Walmart now. Gosh, you can only imagine what type of quality that is, but it's still about $6 a pound. So we're already ahead as far as I'm concerned. And again, guys, it really doesn't come down to cost for us. I mean, yes, everyone wants to make sure they're not just throwing money away, but for us, it is the health purposes on why we're raising these animals and why we're producing our own food here. The quality of what we're producing here on the farm, I'm not sure if that can be matched in any store. You talk about your Whole Foods and larger chains like that. I just don't think it's happening to produce at that scale. You're not able to let animals just kind of roam free like this. It's a lot more of a high intensity, a higher turnover environment where they're trying to crank these animals through and finish them out as quickly as they can, which often associates grain, which also has a cost as well. So I just think the quality here is kind of priceless in a way, but from the numbers standpoint, we're also beating the big box stores on prices.